In today's video, I'm going to talk about narcissism, and specifically, are you dating a narcissist? I'm going to talk to you about the signs, so the behaviors that you'll see in the other person that indicates they have narcissistic tendencies, what things happen in the dynamic that shows you are with a narcissist, what to do when you have that realization. So what to do if you want to stay or if you want to leave. And then I'll share about my experience dating a narcissist. Hi, I'm Casey Lepper. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a spiritual teacher and healer. And I talk about topics related to your mind, body, spirit, and soul to help you overcome anything that's blocking you from creating the life you want. Now, narcissism is a really big topic. And because the quality of our life is impacted by the quality of our romantic relationships, we really want to know if we're in love with someone or attached to someone who's exhibiting narcissistic tendencies or a personality disorder. Let's get started with the signs. So there's a lot of characteristics that can look like narcissism. And if you look at the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, there is a lot of criteria. But someone can have narcissistic tendencies without a full-blown personality disorder. And the 6 I'm going to list right now, if someone has all 6, it's likely that this is part of their personality. All of us might have 1 or 2 of these that come up occasionally, but if someone has all 6 and they exhibit these frequently, it's a good sign that they're a narcissist. So the first one is lack of empathy. A narcissist is really good at being able to pretend that they understand your feelings, especially at the beginning, but the only reason why they care about your feelings is because it makes them feel a certain way. In other words, it's not about you. They don't feel remorse because of what you're experiencing. They're upset because it's impacting them. So a narcissist doesn't really have that empathy, that heart-centered energy to be able to say, I've really hurt this person and I feel so bad about it. They more think it from a cognitive level of, oh, I can see I upset this person and now I'm going to have to deal with them. So it might look like they have empathy. And at the beginning, when someone is courting you and they're a narcissist, you're likely going to get someone who is really upfront with their feelings. They're very, very considerate, but it's performative. There's not the depth there because it's about finding someone who raises their status or makes them feel accepted and validated. So lack of empathy is one clear sign that you're dealing with a narcissist. Number 2, when they're grandiose. Grandiose means they have a heightened sense of self. They think they're God's gift to man. And so generally they hold positions of high status and power, and they love the attention they get from it. So they might feign humility, but they really, really care about being seen and validated by other people. So this grandiose type of personality indicates they may be a narcissist. Number 3 is a sense of entitlement. They expect life to work for them. Any obstacle makes them uncomfortable and goes directly against their grandiose nature. They think everything should happen for them. They think that if something doesn't go right, it is a personal infraction upon them. This is the person who gets really upset when they're at TSA security and their bag gets double checked. That if something goes wrong, someone cuts them off, they take it personally. That they think they should get exactly what they want when they want. And when they don't get that, this relates to number 4, which is emotional dysregulation. If they don't get what they want, they have an emotional tantrum. They can't regulate that disappointment. The temper tantrum is coming from an inner wound or insecurity within themselves. And because they feel insecure, they're relying on everything outside of themselves to validate their own sense of worth and their own confidence. And so while they walk with this grandiose stature and they hold these higher level positions, when they don't get what they want, they react like a child. So think about a toddler. When you take away a toy that they're wanting to play with, and they have that extreme reaction, that's what a narcissist does. That if anything goes against what they want and what they desire, they have an extremely dysregulated reaction. They are not good at letting things go because everything that happens externally is an indicator of their own validation and sense of security. So if you are in a relationship with someone who reacts very, very extremely when they do not get their way, this is such a clear sign that something deeper might be going on. Number 5, they're superficial. They care a lot about what other people think. Now, I'm going to go into this for a second. So a narcissist acts grandiose and they hold these like higher power positions and they act like they're superior to everyone else. But the reason why is because deep down, they're so insecure. They lack a sense of self. They lack self-worth. They actually have such low self-esteem that they're relying on everything external to give them that feedback. So that's why they're entitled. That's why they care about the superficial things. On the outside, they look like they have the nice cars or maybe the best relationship. They tend to find people who are really, really high status or really, really beautiful because it's indicating something that they can't feel themselves. And so this superficial nature is like a veneer or a mask. It's hiding this deep insecurity within them. Number 6 is they're hypersensitive to criticism. Again, this relates to that low self-esteem, that everything they've built in life is a way for them to feel better about themselves. And it's a house of cards. So if one falls, they get so afraid that they're going to be figured out, that there is such a reaction to getting feedback. And so when you're in a relationship with someone who is so sensitive to feedback and criticism, you can't get anywhere with them. They're so connected to this mask that they're wearing that anything that calls to question the legitimacy or the strength of it is too much for them to bear. So if you're noticing all 6 of those, like I said, that's a big indicator you're dealing with someone who has at least narcissistic tendencies and maybe the full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. Now, those are behaviors that you'll see in them. But if you're in a relationship with someone who has those, long-term or maybe even short-term, the relationship is going to show certain patterns. Now, the first one is you don't feel like there's somewhere safe for you to put your feelings. Because in a relationship, there's things that happen. We get into fights. We tell each other what the other person did that bothered us. And if you're with a narcissist, you can't really tell them much before they're going to fire back at you. And this is where gaslighting comes in. Because they're so insecure and they're living with this external veneer of who they are, if you're giving them feedback or telling them what they did to hurt you, A, they don't have the empathy. B, you're going against this superficial, grandiose personality they've created. And likely they're going to throw it back at you. So you're not going to feel like you can really come to them and tell them what you really think. So what happens long term is you feel alone. You feel isolated in your own relationship. You feel like you have to take the responsibility for everything because they can't hold it. If someone's dealing with this in a relationship, most often we become a shell of who we are because it's either we have to let this go to keep the peace, we have to blame ourselves and try to figure out what we need to do to not care about this, or we completely distrust our feelings altogether. I think narcissists are really, really attracted to people who are more on the people-pleasing end of the spectrum. They're perfectionists. They're high in self-conscientiousness. They're high in agreeableness. And this creates a perfect pairing for a narcissist because they can get away with so much. So if you're in a relationship and you notice you're holding your feelings by yourself, you don't feel safe to be able to express what the other person's doing that's bothering or upsetting you, when you're experiencing a shift of blame and that they're never taking responsibility, this is an indicator that you've been in a relationship with someone who's narcissistic. I actually dated a narcissist for 4 years, and it took me going all the way through my undergrad into grad school to realize I was dating a narcissist. It's so easy to get lost in their grandiose energy that oftentimes they're really charismatic. They're really, really charming. And so it's almost easier to say, oh, I think I need self-work, or maybe I am crazy, or maybe I was imagining that. It's easier to do that than to think I'm dating a narcissist. And so what happened in my own experience was I was so afraid to say that anything was wrong. So if I said, you forgot to do the dishes today, I would never say that you forgot to do the dishes today because I knew it would end up being my fault. So something as innocuous as just saying, you left a broom out, or can you do this next time, ended up being a fight. And I remember after that relationship, when I met my now husband, the first time I came to him and told him what I was feeling and that I was really impacted by something he did, my entire nervous system tightened and it was prepping for battle. Like every argument with a narcissist is like a full legal debate. Like you have to come in prepared and still you're not going to win. And I remember when I was coming to my then boyfriend and he just apologized, it was the biggest contrast. And I think it really clarified and showed this is how deep a narcissist can get us off of our sense of self, because we take way more responsibility. We don't feel like we can share anything. We end up holding the burden for the progress of the relationship because we're doing it alone. So those are some major dynamics that come up if you're in a relationship with a narcissist or someone who's exhibiting narcissistic tendencies. And now once you realize it, what to do? This part's easy because there's only 2 options. You can leave or you can stay. If you leave, you have to get really connected to your heart and know that you deserve better. For me, when I realized he was a narcissist and I realized I was a shell of who I was, because over the 4 years, I just kept getting notched down and down and down. And when I realized it, I got confidence back. And that confidence became volatile in this relationship because I was going against the pattern. And so I knew it was either stay and deal with this, all the temper tantrums and the lack of responsibility and growth, or to leave. And so I chose to leave. And that departure is messy. Narcissists don't usually make it easy when you're leaving because they feel a loss of control and like a breaking down of something that they constructed in order to make themselves feel better. Or you can stay. And so depending on your situation, maybe you have kids together, maybe you're financially tied, maybe you just don't know what you would do. If you decide to stay, you have to first manage your expectations. You have to make sure that you're not trying to change them. Narcissists really don't change. There's maybe 1% change. Don't think that you're going to change them. Don't expect them to take responsibility. Don't expect them to apologize. Don't expect them to be emotionally intimate with you. They don't have the capacity. It's like they lack the language. They lack the ability. So manage your expectations. Number 2, prioritize the relationships that are healthy in your life. Don't make this person the only relationship in your life. You need people who are intimately connected to you, friends, family who support you, who validate you, who get you. You're going to need that because when you're with a narcissist long term, you usually lose your sense of self. And if you want to stay with them for whatever reason, you need the friends and the relationships that help you maintain that sense of self. This allows you to be in that relationship and be able to manage the expectations. The third is getting support, having a therapist, having some sort of self-development work so you're not stagnating, so you're not just staying stuck in a relationship that's not going anywhere. You're working on yourself, because the stronger you are, the better all of life is going to be. It doesn't mean that you're not going to fight with the narcissist. It doesn't mean that things are always going to be smooth. But if you're putting energy into managing your expectations and living with a narcissist, you need support. You need guidance. You need someone who's going to help you uncover maybe what it was about you that attracted a narcissist in the first place, to be able to understand how to set clear boundaries, how to prioritize yourself. And this is a way to develop your self-care and your soul care. So those are the signs that you see in the other person, the dynamics that come up in the relationship, and the way through once you discover that you're in the relationship with the narcissist.